Hey guys, welcome to Boxing Squared for boxing news and views from around the internet. And a heavyweight news mashup today with a number of stories including about Deontay Wilder, Tyson Fury and their rematch, going to some thoughts by Otto Warren on the cut Fury sustained, and Daniel Dubois and Ebenezer Tete. Their fight coming up. Ebenezer Tete is talking tough, but really is he going to fight small in his clash with Dubois at the end of this month? And I'll just round out the video with touching on a couple of comments Eddie Hearn has made about a potential clash between Michael Hunter and Alexander Povetkin. But starting with Shelley Finkel, Deontay Wilder's co-manager, who believes that Tyson Fury will be fine for a February fight with Deontay Wilder, he told World Boxing News exclusively. He said that, "I thought Fury's opponent Otto Warren was better than anyone thought he would be, and that Wilder versus Ortiz 2 will be announced by the end of the month." And just in terms of the two issues there, the Wilder-Ortiz and February the 22nd, 2020, so presuming Deontay Wilder gets past Luis Ortiz, this February the 22nd date, they have really tried to stick to it in public. And Deontay Wilder has not had a 3-month turnaround in, several years now. So it would still surprise me if they actually made February the 22nd, 2020, because that is the date that everyone involved in this potential rematch is talking. They are very wedded to it. Perhaps it's down to potential locations and venues that if they don't meet that date, it might be a number of months before they can get something suitable. I mean, I would have thought if Deontay Wilder goes into that fight with Luis Ortiz, there's every chance that even if he does win, he could pick up some sort of injury that he may need to rehab. And he has been picking up injuries in most of his fights in recent years. He did injure his left arm in that one-round performance against Dominic Breazeale. And prior to that, in recent years, he sustained several hand and arm injuries to his right arm. So 7 surgeries since he turned pro. So Deontay Wilder's body is a question mark. And if they manage to have this turnaround of 13 weeks, it will really amaze me. And that's, Fury himself with those bad cuts that he sustained. Will he be ready as well? So we'll have to see. But yeah, they are talking about that date. It will happen from what they're saying. And the other piece of news there, that the fight with Luis Ortiz, which a week or so ago we were hearing an announcement was imminent. Now we're hearing by the end of the month. Makes me wonder what has been the hold-up, because obviously Deontay Wilder back in May said, his fight with Ortiz, he announced it and he said it would be the details with the date, the venue, etc. would be coming soon. We're more than 3.5 months removed from that statement from Wilder. And by the time they announce the rematch with Luis Ortiz, which will presumably be before the end of September, they're only giving less than 2 months to actually promote the fight, sell the tickets, and obviously if they're talking November 23, that's not too far away from now, effectively 2 months, so it's not a long lead-in time for a fight of that nature to really promote it and sell the tickets and drum up the sort of interest that you'd like. But over to them what they're doing with those details, but very interesting indeed. So moving on to the next thing, Otto Warren on the cut with Tyson Fury. He says if it was someone else, they probably would have stopped it. He told TMZ that. And actually, I think this is something many of us believe probably would have happened, with everything that's on the line potentially for Tyson Fury, riding on the lineal status that he has, a potential rematch with Deontay Wilder. We're talking tens of millions of dollars for everyone involved. It never looked likely that they were going to stop that fight. A few moments where you thought, oh, the doctors are getting up to the ring apron here, what's going to happen? But ultimately, Fury fought on, won the fight relatively comfortably. And just in relation to the dirty tactics that Warren did employ in that fight, you may remember at the end of, what was it, the 4th or the 5th round, he raked Tyson Fury's face trying to get up in that cut that was at the end of the round. He's explained it as he was using dirty tactics too. I'm not going to let someone do that to me without me answering back with some dirty tactics. This is boxing, it's a fight. You got to do everything you can to win. And I know that the action by Otto Warren hasn't sat well with especially Tyson Fury fans, who have seen a number of outrage comments. And with this sort of thing, there really is a range of opinions. But ultimately, it's up to the ref to ref the fight and keep the fighters in check. And I actually thought that Warren was lucky not to be deducted a point, because it was an obvious foul, but nothing sort of happened. But maybe he was taking a closer look at Otto Warren and his actions for the rest of the fight. on to a topic that I really have found quite hilarious is you can see here on screen, it's a press release that's come out on frankwarren.com regarding Daniel Dubois and Ebenezer Tita. Ebenezer Tita is the unbeaten, he's a former cruiserweight who is taking on Daniel Dubois at the Royal Albert Hall later in September. This really is a massive mismatch, and if you don't believe me, have a look here at Ebenezer Tita's record on screen now. 19-0, 16 KOs, he's 31, world number 369th in the world. So, just put that in perspective. Dubois is facing the world number 369 here, and his record really is wafer thin. But Tita is not very happy about Daniel Dubois effectively looking through him, and Tita is vowing to inflict revenge on behalf of his countryman Richard Lartey, who Daniel Dubois knocked out earlier this year. So Tita says, "I'm going to England to get revenge for my countryman Richard Lartey. Richard gave Daniel hell, but he couldn't get the job done. I will finish what Richard Lartey started." Daniel is speaking a lot about fights with David Price or Derek Chisora. He is definitely overlooking me. It reminds me of when Anthony Joshua was going into the fight with Andy Ruiz and kept talking about fighting Wilder and Fury. He got punished for overlooking his opponent, and I will punish Daniel Dubois. That is the statements of Ebenezer Tita, currently 19-0, fighting out of Ghana. And what do I make of that? Well, it's completely laughable. It really is some ridiculous statements from Ebenezer Tita. He is really going to get folded up like a cheap suit, like a cheap deck chair, like a cardboard box. This guy absolutely has no shot. If I was more positive about any result in the heavyweight division this year, it would be this fight. If this goes more than 2 rounds, I will be absolutely shocked. Yeah, it really would shock me if Dubois doesn't get this guy out of here in a couple of rounds. This really is just a sort of stopgap measure for Daniel Dubois. It's an activity fight, a showcase fight, and he is going to pick up the Commonwealth title in this fight. And that's why the fight's being held effectively, because the Commonwealth belt is on the line. And the fact that Ebenezer Tita was even in consideration for a title shot for the Commonwealth title, that really in itself beggars belief. But yeah, Ebenezer Tita talking big, but he is going to get absolutely wrecked, and I actually fear for his safety in terms of his health, because Daniel Dubois is no joke, and he is going to fold Ebenezer Tita up like a deck chair. And just before I go, a couple of comments that Eddie Hearn has made. You may recall just from over the weekend, Michael Hunter, he called out Alexander Povetkin and said, I want to fight Alexander Povetkin on the Ruiz-Joshua 2 undercard in Saudi Arabia on December 7th. And Eddie Hearn has sort of made some positive signals about that, telling reporters, that is the fight that I want to make in Saudi Arabia, Michael Hunter versus Alexander Povetkin. He is going up there to beat big guys. He's speaking of Hunter here. He didn't lose a round against Sergey Kuzmin, who is supposed to be a top 15 heavyweight. He made him look average. He's undersized, but he's got a big heart, and he really knows his way around a ring. And some of the comments there, Michael Hunter is certainly starting to make a few waves in the heavyweight division. That was a solid win against Sergey Kuzmin. Was Kuzmin a top 15? Absolutely not. He was more of a sort of somewhere between top 20 and top 30, but a decent enough heavyweight and a decent win for Michael Hunter. And stepping up to Alexander Povetkin on that undercard, I would be interested in that fight, and I think at this point in Povetkin's career, he's 40 years old, he is on the decline, Hunter is on the rise. I would pick Michael Hunter to win that fight. I think with some of what he does, if he can sort of go past 4 or 5 rounds while Povetkin is fresh and dangerous, I think he would actually potentially even stop Alexander Povetkin. But I do believe that is a good fight. Alexander Povetkin is fading, but he's still a good name. He's still considered within the top 10. For how much longer, who knows, but he's still a good guy to get on your record, and I like that fight. For Hunter, I probably actually place that as maybe 60-40 favourite at this point. How about you? What do you make of it all? Drop a comment loud and often. Hit like, hit subscribe. Follow me on Twitter, boxing_squared. I'm out.